Alright, recently we talked quite a lot about Thunder Dragons. I mean, I like it, I always enjoy talking about Thunder Dragons, and this is going to be the last sort of iteration of videos we did on this deck, where we talk about the, in my opinion, most optimal deck list you can currently play for Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel with sort of pure Thunder Dragons. Now, don't get me wrong, even with the version I showed off a week ago, which is totally free to play, you can easily get into Platinum 1, but should they implement something like King of Games, Diamond, or even a top 200 leaderboard, this is the deck list you are going to want to go for, especially in the extreme meta game, where we have Eldritch with 3 skill drain running around, or just super FTK decks like Drytron or Tri-Brigade Lilisk. I think this version of the deck can compete in this highly competitive environment. So what has changed about this deck list in comparison to the free-to-play version we showed off just about a week ago? We talked about how Thunder Dragon Colossus is our #1 win condition, and we want to get this out and then OTK the opponent turn 3 because they couldn't play on their turn. The basic game plan still stays the same, but we add an additional layer of win condition to this deck because in a highly competitive environment, I think you kind of need it. It's Union Carrier. Union Carrier is a card that is banned in the TCG, has been for quite a while. It has been banned for explicitly the interaction we're going to abuse in this game because it's legal in this game for some reason. Union Carrier is a link to monster, 2 monsters with the same type or attribute. Basically, you can target any monster you control and equip a monster from your deck to it with the same type or attribute. Thunder Dragon Colossus is a dark monster, right? It's a dark monster. Then there's another card in the game that's called Dragon Buster Destruction Sword. It's also a dark monster. If it's equipped to any monster you control, your opponent cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck at all. So you put out Colossus, you make Union Carrier, you equip Colossus with Dragon Buster Destruction Sword. Your opponent cannot search cards, your opponent cannot special summon from the extra deck, they're locked out of the game, they cannot do anything, and the difference between Dragon Buster Destruction Sword is it needs very specific outs. Colossus can be outed by most engine cards, or most engines have access to a card that outs it. Dragon Buster Destruction Sword, not. You have to play non-engine cards to go around this card. For many decks, it's impossible to out this card. Because the format is so extreme in what it does, you have super heavy control decks and super heavy combo decks. You kind of want to be prepared for both. Having a Colossus versus any control deck is mostly reasonable enough, and having this card on top of it versus any combo deck will seal most games going first. Alright, so now that we've established our main win condition for this optimized version of Thunder Dragon, how do we get to that consistently? That's always the question we want to ask ourselves when we build a deck. How do we get to our win condition? Well, Batteryman Solar is a card that was used in the Thunder Dragons in the past. We mostly substituted this card with Aloof Lupine, which is the card that we used in the free-to-play version as well, mainly because it was a super rare. The reason being is that Aloof Lupine plays more around Max C. But something we have to keep in mind for this format is that if our win condition is strong enough that even if they draw 3 to 4 cards with Max C, they still lose, then we don't care about Max C. Dragon Buster Destruction Sword, as mentioned, needs very specific outs. So even if they draw 3 to 4 cards with Max C, there is a high chance they still cannot play. So that's why we're not as scared of Max C, and that's why we play a more controversial or more extreme card like Batteryman Solar that is also better going second into the control decks because it has more explosiveness. It can facilitate tokens, it mills a card immediately from the deck to the grave, and it just gets a lot of things going. There's another neat interaction where this card can be searched with Thunder Dragon Fusion, so if you didn't have a starter going first and you only had Thunder Dragon Fusion with, let's say, maybe Thunder Dragon OG, you can search this on turn 3 and then just completely go off. This is also very nice because it makes Colossus more consistently. If you open Thunder Dragon Fusion with Solar, it equals Colossus because you can mill the Thunder Dragon, use Fusion, shuffle Solar and OG back into the deck, make Colossus. Then we can go something like maybe Chaos Space, just a hypothetical scenario. We can go Chaos Space and any of the baby dragons that we also play equal Union Carrier. I'll explain it in a second. So that is automatically the lock. That's why I prefer Solar in this version and in the current metagame, because it's so controversial and extreme. Let's talk about the baby dragons next. We still play 3 Chaos Space, we still play Collapse Serpent, but we bumped the Wyver Burster up to 2. The reason being mostly because we don't have enough space, and I think 5 copies of this most of the time, if you open Chaos Space with a Dark Monster, is enough to open this card consistently. We want to bring this as much to 40 as possible. I wasn't totally able to do it, but I think even 41 it's totally fine, especially because with Thunder Dragons, sometimes you don't really want to open too many of your Thunder Dragons. But Wyver Burster plus Solar has in the past, in the TCG, always been a ridiculous combo. Solar, mill Raw, banish Raw, special Wyver Burster, trigger Raw, special Dark, trigger Solar, special token. You have 4 monsters on board that you can do a lot of stuff with. One of the neat things I like is, for example, going second versus Eldritch if for some reason all of these things go through, which mostly is not the case. But if you want to break their board in like maybe a turn 3 scenario, with this specific interaction, you can go Link Karibo with the token, make a Nightmare Phoenix beneath it, pitch a card, draw one, just go off completely, right? And still be able to trigger your Dark, trigger your Wyver Burster. You just go plus infinity. There's another interesting card we play, which is the Chaos Creator. The Chaos Creator is a Thunder monster. Basically, you special summon it just like BLS, if you know it from back in the day. You banish a light and a dark monster. Also, if you control this card, you can target 3 banished monsters with different names, special summon one of them, and place the rest on the bottom of the deck. This card is nice mainly because it's a Thunder monster. Because we can search it with Thunder Dragon Fusion on turn 3, which makes it even more explosive, right? We cut Thunder Dragon Duel from the deck just because we play Chaos Creator. It's such a good extender. It can put the Thunder Dragons back on the bottom of the deck, so you can trigger them again and trigger Titan. It's pretty nice. You can shuffle back the Baby Dragons if you want to abuse them once again in the following turn. So Chaos Creator is a nice one-off. Is it the most mandatory card? I don't think so. There was also an argument to be made to play Chaos Dragon Legionnaire, but Chaos Dragon Legionnaire is only searchable with Chaos Space and not with Fusion turn 3. So I think Legionnaire, because it's not searchable, I think it's a bit iffy, right? In certain scenarios, you might want to play this versus Eldritch. It would be ridiculously good, but even only if you could search it with Thunder Dragon Fusion, in my opinion. And another card that a lot of people talked about in the comment section on the last videos was Denko Sekka. So Denko Sekka is a card, while you control no set spell traps, neither player can set spell traps or activate those spell traps. So if you normal this on a board with Eldritch and they don't have a Solemn Judgment, all of their back row is dead, right? They cannot respond with something like a Bottomless Trap Hole or something in that regard. This card is obviously searchable with Thunder Dragon Fusion, but the thing is, I still believe that if you face a lot of high-rated ladder players, you are going to face a lot of Drytron and Tri-Brigade Lilisk, and this card, in my experience, is a dead card versus those decks. In a side deck, this would be incredible. I would love this card in the side deck, but for the main deck, I think it's just not enough, and you want to max out on the consistency of your deck, because Thunder Dragons, they can sometimes inherently brick a bit. Another card that we added is Gold Sarcophagus. It's a 1-card combo starter. It's an ultra rare. That's why we didn't play it in the free-to-play version. But of course, this has been a staple in Thunder Dragons forever, basically. And then I think the last things we can talk about is the Thunder Dragon ratios. We kept everything the same. 3 OG, 3 Dark, 1 Hawk, 2 Roar, obviously. But we put Matrix to 2, but put Fusion to 3 instead. The reason we put Matrix down to 2 is because we wanted to keep the deck count as low as possible. Thunder Dragon Fusion, however, I really want to play a 3 in this version, and I have liked it a lot so far. I don't think this is more or less standard. I don't think it's what most people would play, but I've tested it and it's worked wonders for me. With Solar, this is a instant Colossus, and in general this card is just incredible. Especially because now with Chaos Space and the additional Baby Dragons, you can trigger your Thunder Dragons even more now, so you get more Thunder Dragons in the grave. Just with the overall dynamic of this version of the deck, where it's more so a combo pure Thunder Dragon version, where you are very explosive in your turns, your Thunder Dragon Fusion is going to be live more often than not. That's why I wanted to max it out, and 2 is sort of a weird ratio anyway, right? Even though you can obviously search it with Dark, I still think having 3, you always want to draw this card at this point, so why not put it in the deck? Then 2 Called by the Grave, because Maxi is still a card that is annoying, especially with Solar, as mentioned previously, even though we don't really care, because if we can put up the win condition, it doesn't matter. But still, of course, if you can prevent your opponent drawing 4 cards, you want to prevent it. Ash Blossom, same reason, and Maxi and Impermanence are, I think, more or less mandatory at this point. The last non-engine card is a One of Nibiru, which might seem random at first, but being able to draw into this with Maxi is super good. I liked it so far. I think in theory this is good. I mentioned in my combo guide how I, as well with the 60-card Thunder Dragon deck, just ignore Maxi pretty much. If I go second, I just OTK them anyway. But if they have Nibiru, of course, it becomes a lot more problematic and a lot more difficult to play through that as well. So that's why I play the One of Nibiru. For the extra deck, do we just want to go over this card by card? I mean, we can just go over it very quickly. Colossus, 2 Titan. I think this is very much standard. You really don't need 3 Titan. Like, even in the most optimal scenario deck list, you don't really need this card. Link Karibo, because you can make the token, and Matrix into this card. Striker Dragon, because of the Baby Dragons. All the Nightmares, we play all the Nightmares. I think even Cerberus comes up sometimes, and the extra deck is not really the most important thing in Thunder Dragons. Although IP Masquerena is something that you sometimes make if you don't really have a better option. Although, I also have to say, of course, mostly you make Union Carry, because that is your main win condition. Cross Sheep, we still play it for an extender because we can make Boral Sword or Appaloosa with it. Anaconda is a card that I have now crafted for this version. Of course, as I mentioned in the combo guide, this card can be super good in Thunder Dragons. More or less a mandatory card. Liner is a card I like. It doesn't come up the most, but sometimes, and you can search your OG Thunder Dragon or Batteryman Solar with it as well, so that's pretty nice. And then Boral Sword and Appaloosa. So when it comes to other cards that you could craft for this deck, another one is Instant Fusion. Is a card, honestly, as you can see, I didn't have the crafting points for this anymore, but this is also a very good extender for the deck. Is it worth crafting? Yes. Do you need it to win? And does it make the difference in the end? I don't know, right? It is a good card. Sometimes maybe. This card is also nice because it combos with Solar once again. Normal Solar, use Instant Fusion, get a token, get going from there, I guess, right? And another card I also want to mention, because I didn't have the crafting points for it anymore, Saryuja. I would probably cut the liner and put Saryuja in there, just because if you do the Solar combo, sometimes it's really nice. Dark, Wyver Burst, or Solar, and the token to get into Saryuja. Draw 4 cards, search something off Dragon Dark, search the Collab Serpent from your deck. So this can be crazy, but it also runs into Nibiru even more than the deck usually does, right? So I don't really know. We're currently on a win streak of 13 with this deck, so it's running reasonably well. But that's enough of deck talk. We talked quite extensively about the deck now. Let's get into some replays. I think today's replays are going to be reasonably fun to look at, because I misplayed here and there, but I think overall you still get the idea of what the deck is supposed to do and basically just how strong it can be. Let's look at this. Our opponent goes first. We open Maxi, Wyver Burster, Chaos Creator, Gold Suck, Impermanent. So this is a reasonably good hand going second. I would say we open 2 hand traps, one of them being Maxi, which is of course incredible. And Wyver Burster, Gold Sarcophagus, it's reasonably alright, you know. Chaos Creator, maybe not the best card to draw on your turn 1, but it's still alright, I would say. They open Rota, they search the Torn Scales. So at this point I'm thinking, okay, Maxi is going to be incredible here, no matter what they do. So they normal Torn Scales. The reason I don't Maxi on the Torn Scales, which would have played sort of around them special summoning Silent Boots immediately, is because I thought maybe they would use the Torn Scales effect to discard something and then special, like, use an effect that announces itself more or less, so I could chain the Maxi and draw a card for sure. But at this point, now that they special summon the Boots, I think I have to shotgun the Maxi, because they're going to go into Cherry Beanie and there's going to be a lot of effects. Or a lot of inherent special summons, more or less, even though that's not an official term. But I think most of you know what I mean. Special summons that just happen, more or less. So, you throw the Maxi here. They go for Cherubini still, so they still want to play, which I'm totally fine with, because I know this deck is going to special summon a lot. And like I said, we have the one of Nibiru in this deck. And this is one of the scenarios where, you know, if you have the Nibiru in your deck, you feel good at this point, right? If I wouldn't, I would be scared of getting, like, Rongo Miniats FTK'd or something. They special summon the Torn Scales. Funnily enough, they actually pitch the Nyanyan to the grave. So I think this might also be, now that I'm thinking of it, this might be a popular option, because it also, like, if you don't want to build too many decks and you want to be on a budget, this could work with the Virtual World deck as well if you want to build that. But we draw an additional card. We draw into, I think it was Chaos Space and Thunder Dragon Fusion, as well as Ash, which of course that's one of the best things about Maxi, is being able to draw into more hand traps, of course. They're going to use Torn Scales. I have enough gas that I still hand trap them from what they're doing, right? Because I could also say, okay, I just let them play their full combo, so I draw infinite cards with Maxi, and then I just Nibiru them in the end if I draw it. But of course, that's not guaranteed, so I still try to stop them as much as possible. At this point, I'm very happy, because they just go into Gossip Shadow and pass, and I have... How many cards do we have? We have 8 cards in our hand now, so at this point I'm like, okay, this is probably going to be an instant win. It just goes to show how strong Maxi really can be. We start with Chaos Space, pitch Wyver Burster, go for Collab Serpent, and I think in hindsight I should have just activated Infinite Impermanence here on the Gossip Shadow, so we don't have to deal with this at all anymore, because this says, if you didn't know, a quick effect, detach to make it a monster effect, so it doesn't say whatever the monster effect says. It says both players draw one card, so it changes the effect of the monster you activate. So I wouldn't have had to play around this card if I had just used Impermanence in the standby phase. Of course, this is also here amazing that we play the Cold by the Grave. We can use it on the Maxi that they chain, or that they react with on the summon of Collab Serpent here. We banished the... What did we banish? We banished the Wyver Burster. We used the Chaos Space in the grave to put the Wyver Burster back on the bottom of the deck. Draw another Impermanence. This is totally fine. It's just going to be more interruption during their turn, we're gonna use the black Collapse Serpent to add the Wyver Burster, use the 2 to go into Liner, and at this point we can special summon the Chaos Creator. So that was sort of my way to deal with the Bamboozling Gossip Shadow, because they're definitely, I knew that at this point they were definitely gonna negate the Chaos Creator, because we go into Apollosa otherwise, because we can obviously special summon a monster and then just use all 3 to go into Apollosa. We draw a card and we draw Solar, so this is of course the most broken thing we could have drawn in our entire deck. Now you'll see the full power that this can really do, like what this can really do. We hadn't normal summoned yet, which is also incredible. We use Gold Sarcophagus, go for Roar, Special Dark, go for the token, and at this point we can just use Solar, Dark, and the liner that we made for Apollosa. So we're now safe versus Nibiru as well, should they have it, which they probably don't at this point, because we already know they would have probably done it earlier. We search Hawk with Dark, we special the Matrix that we dumped off the Solar, so we can make Colossus and even add the Matrix, because we hadn't used it yet. Use Thunder Dragon Fusion to get out a Titan as well, because we conveniently enough drew this as well. And then we go into Union Carrier. So Union Carrier, nice thing, this can also be made with tokens. And of course, Chaos Creator and the token both being Thunder monsters. We equipped the Dragon Buster Destruction Sword to Colossus. And at this point, look at how many interruptions we have. It's so crazy. We ended with Apollosa for 3 counters, or Apollosa with 3 counters, Titan, and Colossus. They cannot special summon from the extra deck. They cannot add cards from the deck to the hand. We have an interruption with Titan and Matrix. We have an Apollosa with 3 counters, and we have 2 impermanences. So I think we could just fast forward this at this point. They're going to try to do some stuff, but it's just going to, like, be irrelevant at this point, of course. But it was just a showcase of how crazy this deck can be. Of course, we drew 4 cards with Maxi or something like that, so that helps. But if you open optimally, this is sort of the power you can expect from this version of the deck. I just enjoy this optimized version of Thunder Dragon so much. Like, even though it's expensive, like, it's so good. And I think the last replay, it just showed like how insane it can be. Oh, it's so much fun. The Buster Log is so insane. Anyway, let's look at this hand. We open Wyver Burster, double Wyver Burster, Solar, Allure, Impermanence. We go first. Solar Wyver Burster used to be a meme in the TCG community because it's so broken. This combo is insane. So, we normal Solar. So, I'm going to show you the bread and butter combo here. But, well, that's what I wanted to do, but they Ghost Ogre our Solar, so that's a bit unfortunate. So, not the bread and butter combo, but still a nice combo. We can obviously still resolve the Solar, because Ghost Ogre is just, it just destroys the card, it doesn't negate it. We can banish the Roar with the Wyver Burst, and this is more or less the, like, this is the dream scenario. Banishing Roar with Wyver Burster feels so nice. You go into Striker Dragon, you trigger the Wyver Burster, and this is more or less what we talked about earlier, so I can just fast forward this. You use, wait a second, what am I doing here? Oh yeah, oh nice, yeah, you can, of course, yeah, you can also do it like this. I was confused at my own replay. So you can use the Dark here, obviously, because you want to get it off board. What am I even thinking about? You have to get it off board to get the Hawk. And this way it's also nice because you can save the Collapse Serpent in your hand for the following turn. So we go for Colossus, and then after we summon the Colossus, we can use the Union Carrier to go for the Dragon Buster Destruction Sword. And now the funny thing is we even have an Allure to banish the Collapse Serpent to potentially draw into a Maxi, an Ash, or a Nibiru or something. Banish the Collapse Serpent, set the Cold by the Grave that we drew, which is also nice, and impermanence, and pass. So, in this scenario, like, I'm thinking the only thing we can really lose to is Lightning Storm, plus either they're playing a deck that doesn't have to search, or they have an impermanence in addition to that as well, or something. They go into the main phase, they set a card and use the Fleur-de-Lis. So, you can just see they're playing Dogmatica Invoke, probably, what I'm guessing. You can see just how oppressive this lock is, because they cannot do anything, and the Colossus even has 3600 attack because of the Union Carrier. It even buffs the monster by 1000 attack, which is something I haven't mentioned, but it's totally crazy. They go into the end phase, they can't do anything, and this is the moment where we can totally escalate. We draw another Solar, which is sort of even the disrespect on top. And now we can, as you can see, now this would be the board that we could make if we could use Solar plus Wyver Burster. And I'll just fast forward this a bit, because I think you can sort of get the idea of what we're trying to go for here. At this point, you could have gone for something like Nightmare Cerberus as well, which I think maybe even at the time of recording this replay, I didn't have it in the deck yet, because I played Decoy Talker for a while, but I think Nightmare Cerberus is definitely better. And we go for Apollosa, but it's still totally fine, because we have the OG Thunder Dragon in hand. We can just go Titan, destroy both of their cards with the Thunder Dragon effect in hand and go for the OTK. Apollosa is also nice that we can make with this deck, and I think Solar being able to explode, or not explode, Solar is not exploding. I think Solar being so explosive in the deck and being able to make Apollosa is also something super good about it. Alright, let's look at this next replay. Man, they already have the nice field. I still have the budget, the budget default build. I like Rescue Rabbit though as the mate. I don't know how you guys feel, but I really like it. Even though it's more or less the standard one you open immediately, I like it. Anyway, we open Thunder Dragon, OG Thunder Dragon with Dragon Dark, Call-Up Serpent, and double Maxi. So not the best of hands, but it's still alright. You're gonna see what kind of line we're gonna go for here. And something I also want to mention, one second, I'll pause here. Something I also want to mention is a lot of people commented that also that the Hieratic Seal is something that you could play, and I agree this is something you could play, but I don't like that you cannot summon any Dragon Monster from your deck, even though it's not the most necessary effect of the Hieratic Seal. I still think it's the main reason you would want to play it, and I think the utility cards otherwise in the deck they just give you more in terms of interactions, and usually going first you want to go for Union Carrier anyway, so it hasn't come up for me as well that the Hieratic Seal would be very good. But we add the Wyver Burster, and here we special summon the Wyver Burster. We tribute summon the Dragon Dark, so that's pretty nice. We go for Colossus here. Now I'm actually curious why I played it out this way. Maybe I'm gonna be able to see it in just a second. We use the... Okay, we add Hawk. This works. I think the thing is here, I misplayed. It's what I mentioned earlier, right at the beginning of the gameplays. I misplayed a bit. So I shouldn't have tributed the Striker Dragon, but I should have tributed the Wyver Burster. Then go with Dark and Striker Dragon into Union Carrier. And then make Colossus with Hawk. But maybe it just... Is it the same outcome? It almost feels like it's the same outcome now, right? Because I can just put back the OG Thunder Dragon and go for Union Carrier. Maybe it's the same outcome. I'm not entirely sure right now. But at the time of playing this, I felt like I did a misplay. Maybe not though. Anyway, it doesn't even matter. We just go for our regular lock, and they play Heroes. So Heroes, I think, is the prime example of a deck that it cannot play at all if Colossus and the Dragon Buster Destruction Sword are both on the field. We even max see them as a disrespect once again, but they just immediately scoop. So this was not maybe the best replay to show off in terms of interaction, but it just goes to show like how crazy the Dragon Buster lock can be and just how oppressive it is. It is also something that is not very healthy. I think they should pretty much, if you ask me about the objective best game state in this game, they should definitely remove this card from the, like they should definitely ban it. But there are a lot of unfair cards running around in the game currently, so who knows. Let's look at the next replay. Okay, last replay for today. Let's look at one where we have to go second. Dude, once again, they have the freaking cool field here that we don't, but I don't want to waste gems on it. We opened, let's see what we opened. We opened Ash, Solar, Roar, Cold by the Grave, Chaos Space, and we go second. So, having Ash, like, it's reasonably fine, depending on what they have, of course. They opened Bird Call, so versus the Tri-Brigade Lilith deck, something that I learned from the TCG when I play versus this deck, it's just Ash and the Bird Call is just the best thing you can do. It is the best Ash target. They don't have anything in their combo that really hurts them when you Ash it, so you just kind of Ash that and hope it's enough. So we do indeed throw the Ash. Let's see if they have anything else. But from what I remember, they are literally just gonna pass on this here. Dude, the animations are just too slow still in this game. They just had one, exactly. So at this point, we can just combo off again. And I don't know if the game was just really generous that day to us, but we opened the best combos all the time. Because even this hand is incredible. Like now they Ash us, but it just doesn't matter at all. It's kind of unfortunate for them. But the thing is, if you Ash Solar, you basically Ash a Foolish Burial, but you don't negate the other effect where it can special summon a token. And we open Chaos Space Roar, which equals, like, which just nullifies their Ash completely, because we still get the Roar in the grave and get the Wyver Burster to hand and stuff. So I think at this point, yeah, if they don't have anything super crazy like an Order here or something, which is unfortunately still legal in Master Duel, of course, which just got banned in the TCG, luckily. Hopefully someday in this game as well. We can just go into our full combo. So I think what I'm doing here is I'm going to go for the Nightmare Phoenix play that I discussed when I talked about the deck earlier. And we can trigger all of the effects. We can trigger the Wyver Burster, the Dragon Dark, the Nightmare Phoenix, everything. And they don't chain their card. I just wanted to make sure that like we don't lose to an impermanence and we can just OTK here. I wasn't afraid of Nibiru. I just didn't think a lot of people are playing it. And this is where you could see that a lot of people are still playing very budget-friendly decks, where they're playing MST in their Try to Get Lilith deck, which I think no deck in the TCG would ever do that, right? Because, yeah, you just don't have access to the cards that easily. And also something I wanted to mention is that I feel like in this game, I don't know how you feel about it, but I did spend €100 on the game because I wanted to build this deck for you. And I felt like the gems are so expensive. Like I hadn't looked at them previously, but except for the one offer they have where you can buy like I think 4,500 for €30. Everything else is just overpriced. You pay like €2 for one pack, and I think even if you're rich, you don't want to spend that kind of money on a game like this when you're so unsure about the game state. Or the state of the game, let's call it rather, that not the game state. The state of the game. And where they're going with it. I think, yeah, I don't know. I think they have to, yeah, I just want them to be more transparent about it. Anyway, let's keep with the replay. So, we're going to summon Titan here, and this is obviously just going to be an OTK. And that's going to be it for this very short replay. So very short replays, but I feel like there was not too much to show off in my latest replays. This is sort of the win streak that we had. But it's working reasonably well. You want to stop them with non-engine like an Ash, like a Maxi, like an Impermanence, like an Nibiru. Going second, and then going first, you just do your crazy boards. And I think you can escalate a lot more with this deck in comparison to the free-to-play version. And it's just more explosive. It can do more things. And in the OCG, or not OCG, but Master Duel format, which is of course very similar to the OCG format, where the ban lists are similar, Solar just seems kind of busted to me. So, I hope you enjoyed this deck. Build it if you want to, and if you want to invest in the future and sort of like build a deck that is going to be good down the line, I think, in high competitive or high rated Master Duel, this is going to be a deck for you. It has worked really well for me. Like I said, we're on a 13 win streak right now. Let me know down in the comments if there's maybe a card that I missed that is really good in this deck. I still haven't figured out the Master Duel format completely for myself. I think that's it. I think that's everything I wanted to say about this. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one. See you.